To become a shaman, you will need to develop skills. Particular sets of skills and class abilities that will make you a nightmare for the NPCs that you encounter. Hello everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to continue with our first edition Pathfinder Shaman guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at their class skills and their class abilities, and there's a fair bit to cover here with all this, so we're going to try to keep this tightly focused and not go meandering down different side tangents and taking up considerable amounts of time. We are, however, I should mention that the class abilities for the shaman, they have a fair number of abilities that will take some time to go into in and of themselves, such as the hexes or the different kinds of spirits that you can select. So those will be episodes in and of themselves, but we're going to give you still just a quick overview of what they are, what they generally do, and then we'll get into specifics for those later. But before we get into everything that we have for you today, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, let's get into this here. Starting us off with skills, you gain the craft skill, working from your intelligence score. You want to make things? This is it. We are skipping it, however. Blacksmithing, leatherworking, wood carving, basket weaving. This will let you do it all, but again, we are skipping it. We don't have a terrible amount of skill points, but not enough to invest into everything. Then we have diplomacy, which works off of our charisma stat, which is a good score for us, making us a surprisingly good diplomat. This will let you make friends, improve attitudes, schmooze your way into different social circles despite your shamanic background. Next we have handle animal, also working from charisma. This is for handling an animal, improving its attitude, teaching it tricks and the like. Again, it's actually fairly thematic and appropriate for a shaman, but we're not really going to be worried about this as a skill. Unlike the heal skill, which works off of our wisdom, which is a good stat for us. This allows you to heal and treat injuries and becomes irrelevant as your spells increase and you gain access to wands over the course of your typical campaign. However, in campaigns with low magic, such as low magic items in particular, where maybe a wand of cure light wounds is going to be prohibitively expensive or exceedingly rare, then the heal skill gets to be pretty useful, because while you may have access to different kinds of magic to help with injuries, having the skill so that you're not burning up all your spell slots doing that is going to be valuable for you in those instances. So it's just something to keep in mind there on the kind of campaign setting. Check with your DM and you should end up okay and making a pretty solid choice. Even then, maybe throw in the occasional point or two. Just like 2 points at most is probably going to tide you over for as often as you'll end up needing it. Unlike the next set of skills we're coming to, like knowledge nature, working from your intelligence score, this is knowledge of flora, fauna, and creatures that you'll be encountering in the woods. Definitely a great skill to have on hand, and is going to be one that we focus on overall. Along with knowledge planes, working also from intelligence, this is knowledge of the planar realms, their traits, and the creatures from there. So you'll know about the 9 layers of hell, the infinite realms of the abyss, where the river Styx intersects with those locations and makes its way on up to the 7 mountains of Celestia. So many different other places in the multiverse all the way around, all the different planar layers. The plane of shadow, plane of light, the elemental planes, all of those wonderful things. And then we also have knowledge religion, working from, again, your intelligence score. This is knowledge of different religions, their customs, practices, and the undead. And given how frequently the undead can pop up in campaigns, this is going to definitely be useful and valuable for you. Then we have the profession skill, working from wisdom, again, good stat for us. This is that fill in the gaps skill, which we are going to be skipping. And to have an idea, if you do go a blacksmithing route, say with your crafting skill, blacksmithing actually handles the particular skill set for, making metal tools and items, weaponsmithing, armor forging, making horseshoes. The profession skill does all of the your general maintenance of your tools, upkeep of your shops, just the day-to-day running of the business that is not specifically taken care of under the associated craft skill. So again, we're going to skip it, although you're surprisingly good at it if you decide to invest in it. Then we have the ride skill, working from our dexterity, which is not a bad stat for us in this particular build. This allows you to make ride checks to maneuver your mount or perform difficult feats and tricks. Feats being different from the feats that we'll be picking up as part of this class guide. Then we have the spellcraft skill, working from intelligence. This allows you to identify spells and effects being cast or used. And that will absolutely be very useful for you, especially as a full spellcaster. Then we have the survival skill, also working from intelligence. This is survival skills and tracking. Again, another one that is probably okay to skip unless you're in a low magic setting. Then survival is going to be very well worth every skill point you put into it. Going to definitely be handy for those kind of low magic campaigns. And then lastly, as a late addition onto this list here because, well, I noticed last minute that I was missing it and didn't want to readjust all the different slides to get it to fit in its alphabetical location, we have the fly skill, working from dexterity. This allows you to make flying maneuvers and overcome any difficulties that you might have there. Early game, maybe not super important, especially since you may not be doing a whole lot of flying around in your early levels, but as you advance and move along and you're gaining access to different kinds of magics, not all of which may necessarily get you straight to the target or where you need to be, sometimes using a magic item, or if you have some kind of access to a flying spell, this will help with that. So it's something to keep in mind there. And then moving on from these class skills, we are moving into the abilities that you get as a shaman now. And to start us off, we have the chassis for the class. You start off with 1d8 hit points per level. Well, 1d8 hit dice each level. And you'll be racking that up as you go along. And you also gain 4 plus your intelligence modifier in skill ranks a level. So even with the +1 modifier there, you're at a 5, or if you go with human, you're at a 5 and decide to keep your intelligence at a 10 or an 11, 5 skill points per level isn't too bad, especially since we don't have the broadest range of skills and we've identified which skills we want to skip. However, if you do bump up your intelligence into a 12 just to even get that +1, 6 skill ranks per level will probably be enough to tide you over really reliably. Now, as a shaman, you are going to have poor fortitude and reflex saves, which definitely hurts, in particular the reflex saves. But you will get good will saves, which is definitely something that you want to have solidly in place, because different charm spells and illusions are affected by your will saves. So overcoming those is massively important, because those are the ones that will get you to turn on your party. And coupled with a good wisdom score, you're going to have a pretty solid will save for most of your career. You also gain a 3/4 attack bonus progression, so you start off at +0, +1, +2, +3, +3, then +4, +5, on and on like that in that progression. So you're actually not bad in a fight. Although, again, with this particular build, we are tanking our strength score just a little bit, which, as Captain Crank pointed out, that can kind of hurt a little bit. But this is an instance where the class is a little bit mad, multiple ability dependent. And so if you're limited in how you can allocate your stats, you're probably going to want to, as a shaman at least, focus more on your primary spellcasting stat and stats that maybe affect the class abilities that you're going to be making regular use of, that get you the most bang for your buck. In this case, we're looking at, again, your spellcasting ability, associated saving throws with that, and then your charisma score also affects some of your hex saving throws as well. So not all of them, but some of them, and it's definitely something worth keeping in mind. Now, you're also going to be proficient with light and medium armor, as well as simple weapons. And simple weapons do get kind of a bad rap, but it's not bad, and it's certainly better than what some other full spellcasting classes get access to. So you've actually got a pretty decent range of what you can do here. And if you're in a situation where you rolled above average stats, as I have done from time to time, you can actually end up making a character that's kind of broken and capable in a lot of different arenas. But never forget, you are a primary spellcaster. You cast spells using your wisdom stat and must have a score equal to 10 plus the spell level to cast those spells. The save DCs for spells are 10 plus the spell level plus your wisdom modifier, and you're a prepared divine spellcaster with full spell progression up to 9th level spells. And your spirit animal is going to be your spell book. So while it is kind of a familiar in a sense, it's going to be a creature that is present there. You don't want it to die. You don't want to put it into a situation where it can die, because then you have to replace it in order to gain access to your spells again. It doesn't store your spells in the same way that a witch does, but it is how you commune to refresh your spells. You also need a holy symbol as a spell casting focus. That was something also pointed out before, and so that does open up certain traits to make eliminating the need for that. And there's different effects that you could play around with there beyond just the 3 traits that I had listed in the previous episode. Now to the actual rest of the class abilities. First off, at level 1 we have Spirits. Gain spirit ability and extra spells granted by your chosen spirit. Also has hexes that are granted to the list of hexes the shaman can use with the hex and wandering hex class features. At 8th level, you gain the abilities listed in the greater version of the selected spirit, and at 16th level, you gain the abilities listed in the true version of the selected spirit. And if a shaman multi-classes with another class that grants a mystery, like the Oracle, the spirit and mystery must match, and one of them has to change to match. So that's something to bear in mind there. And the reason why Spirits is rated as really good or really bad is because they're not all created equal. They're not all equal in their ability and what they provide. So depending on what you select, you could end up really crippling yourself. But this is as good a point of any to remind everyone that take everything that I'm saying here as just a guide. It's just a guide. Take it with a grain of salt. Listen to it, learn how these abilities function, pay attention to how everything kind of meshes and gels together, but then go forth and build your own thing. This is not meant to be like a super optimized build. It is built to kind of go in line and provide good power to the class abilities to make a functional character. But I'm also not trying to necessarily game everything and make a broken character either, even though full spellcasting classes easily become broken as things advance. So just, again, bear all that in mind, and with that disclaimer out of the way, which I will probably say often, we are moving on to the next first level ability, which is Spirit Animal. You bond with your chosen spirit animal. This creature is how you prepare your spells, and if slain, prevents the shaman from preparing new spells and using the spirit magic class feature until it's replaced. At first level, your spirit animal gains specific abilities depending on the type of spirit selected, and at third level, the spirit animal can deliver touch spells or hexes. So it gets some useful abilities. It is going to be an incredibly effective companion for you, but because this is how you prepare your spells, you're going to want to be judicious and careful in your application using the spirit animal. So definitely be careful. Then, at first level, we have Spirit Magic. Cast a limited number of spells per day, choosing from a list granted by their spirit. One spell slot per level you can cast and can be enhanced by metamagic feats following the usual metamagic rules. So this is like a cleric selecting their domain. Their domain grants them a number of extra spells per spell level, from first level all the way up to 9th. Now, it's not the broadest set, but it is still extra spells that you're able to make use of, and some of the spells listed in the different kinds of spirits are absolutely incredible. So definitely something to choose and study with a little bit of care, but again, keep in line with the overall theme and idea that you have for your character. It's your character after all. Then, at second level, we pick up our next ability, Hex. A shaman learns a hex and new hexes every two levels up to 20th level. This hexes use a standard action with no attack of opportunity, selected from a list with extras given by your spirit selection. So, you have a limited list and a limited number of hexes that you're able to pick out, but you have other ways of getting a few more, which will be covered when we talk about hexes, and also we have spirits to talk about as well. Now, at fourth level, you pick up Wandering Spirit. Form a temporary bond with a second spirit while preparing your spells, gaining the spirit ability of that spirit. This doesn't grant you access to its hexes, however, but as you're going to see in a moment, that's actually not too bad of a hindrance. At 12th level, you gain its greater abilities, and at 20th level, you gain access to its true abilities. And because it's a temporary bond, you can switch with other different kinds of spirits, allowing you an incredible deal of flexibility. And again, this just kind of goes with, you can do a couple of different builds depending on how much in the way you're able to play around with adjusting and putting in your character's stats. Then at 6th level, you pick up your next ability, Wandering Hex. What does this do? Select an extra hex from either spirit each day when preparing spells. So either your primary chosen permanent spirit or the Wandering Spirit. You're going to want to pick this with the Wandering Spirit. If you pick from the Wandering Spirit, you lose access to that hex when you form a bond with a new spirit. However, when you hit 14th level, you can select 2 hexes each day. Now, you always want to go with the Wandering Spirit, because your permanent spirit, it's your permanent spirit. It's there. It's already an option. But generally speaking, you're going to want to go with the Wandering Spirit, because this, again, gives you just an incredible amount of flexibility, especially on a day-to-day basis. You can really do a lot to switch up and change your strategy depending on the hexes that you select. And then we reach our 20th level options here. Your capstone abilities, the pièce de résistance, the ultimate, penultimate, incredible abilities that you can get access to. First off, we have Manifestation. Undergo transformation as you manifest as a paragon of your primary spirit. The manifestation depends on the selected spirit and is described under those spirits' entries. Or Hex Mastery. Select one grand hex from the list of that's available to witches. Summon Spirit, Life Giver, Eternal Slumber, anybody. These 3 are worth it in and of themselves. They make some pretty solid capstone abilities. Life Giver in particular, if I'm remembering right off the top of my head, it's like True Resurrection with no material component costs. God damn. Using something like that should be illegal. It'll give you life. Okay, lame joke aside, go ahead and hit the dislike button down in the comments below. That was a lame, easy joke there. We're going to end it there because it is actually, oh my god, 3:50 in the morning. We're going to wrap things up now. If you liked today's video, Please go down to the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Hit the like or dislike buttons either way. What skills or abilities do you think? Well, I mean, there's not a lot of abilities here because several of the other abilities really need to be expanded on and discussed in and of themselves in their own episodes, which will be coming. But still, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and we'll engage in discussion. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your Insomniac host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.